My roommate left her door open 6 nights. On the 7th, she came wearing only my shirt. The first time I noticed her bedroom door was open, I thought she had simply forgotten to close it. The second night, I assumed she was tired. By the third, I began wondering if she was trying to tell me something. But by the 6th night, I could barely sleep, because every time I passed that half-open door, I felt like I was standing at the edge of a question I was terrified to ask. Then came the 7th night. I was sitting alone on the couch, staring at the rain sliding down the apartment windows, when my roommate stepped out of her bedroom wearing nothing but one of my old shirts. She stopped beneath the hallway light, looked directly at me, and said something that made my heart feel like it had forgotten how to beat. Before we get into this emotional story, if you believe that kindness, patience, and second chances can change someone's life, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe to the channel. You never know when a simple story might remind someone that they are not as alone as they feel. Her name was Emma, and for almost a year, she had been the easiest person in the world to misunderstand. We had met through a mutual friend after my previous roommate moved away. Emma needed somewhere affordable to stay, and I needed someone who wouldn't turn the apartment into a disaster. It seemed like a practical arrangement. 2 adults, 2 bedrooms, 1 kitchen, and a collection of rules we never actually had to write down. At first, we barely knew each other. Emma was quiet in the mornings. I was quiet at night. She liked tea, I preferred coffee. She listened to music while cooking, while I usually ate standing at the counter. We passed each other in the hallway with tired smiles and exchanged ordinary questions about work. But slowly, without either of us noticing, ordinary things became important. She began leaving an extra cup of coffee beside my laptop when she knew I had an early meeting. I started buying the cereal she liked without mentioning it. When she came home exhausted, I washed the dishes. When I worked late, she left the hallway light on so I wouldn't walk into a dark apartment. Neither of us called it friendship. Maybe we were both afraid that giving it a name would make it more complicated. Then, one winter evening, everything changed. Emma came home carrying a small cardboard box. She placed it on the kitchen table and stood there for nearly a minute without taking off her coat. I knew immediately that something was wrong. She eventually told me that her relationship had ended. Not dramatically. Not with screaming or broken furniture. Somehow, that made it worse. Her boyfriend had simply told her that he didn't think he loved her anymore. She had spent 3 years believing they were building a future together. Now she didn't know what she was building at all. I didn't try to give her advice. I didn't tell her that she deserved better or that everything happened for a reason. Sometimes people don't need wisdom. They need someone willing to sit beside them while the pain is still fresh. So I made tea. We sat in the kitchen until almost 2 in the morning. That night, Emma cried quietly while telling me about all the little things she had sacrificed to keep her relationship alive. Friends she stopped seeing. Dreams she postponed. Parts of herself she convinced herself she didn't need anymore. When she finally went to bed, she thanked me for staying. I told her that she didn't have to thank me. I meant it. Weeks passed. Emma slowly became herself again, but something between us had changed. She laughed more around me. She started knocking on my door just to tell me something ridiculous that had happened at work. Sometimes we sat on the balcony together without speaking. And then came the first night her bedroom door was left open. It was barely midnight when I walked toward the kitchen and noticed the door across the hallway standing open. I paused. Emma's room was usually private. She always closed it. I wondered if she had fallen asleep. I continued walking. The next morning, the door was closed. The following night, it happened again. Open. This time I stopped for a second. There was a warm glow from her bedside lamp, and I could hear the faint sound of music. I almost knocked, but something told me not to. The third night, I began noticing a pattern. The door wasn't completely open. It was always open just enough for me to see the light. Just enough to know she was awake. Just enough to make me wonder. I told myself it meant nothing. People leave doors open. People change routines. People don't secretly communicate through bedroom doors. At least, that's what I wanted to believe. On the fourth night, I found Emma sitting on her bed with an old photograph in her hands. She saw me passing. Instead of hiding it, she smiled sadly. It was a picture of her and her mother. Her mother had passed away several years earlier. Emma told me that her mother used to leave her bedroom door open whenever Emma was upset as a child. It was her silent way of saying, "You can come in whenever you're ready." That sentence stayed with me. The fifth night, her door was open again. I wondered if she was trying to tell me she needed someone. But I didn't want to assume. The sixth night, I was convinced there was something more. I stood outside my own bedroom holding a glass of water, staring at that narrow strip of warm light. For the first time, I realized that I had developed feelings for Emma. Not the kind that appeared suddenly. The kind that had been growing quietly through hundreds of ordinary moments. The way she smiled when she was trying not to laugh. The way she remembered tiny details about my childhood. The way she always asked whether I'd eaten when I came home late. I cared about her. Deeply. But I was terrified that telling her would destroy the safest friendship either of us had. So I did nothing. That seventh night, the rain came down harder than usual. I was on the couch when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. Emma stood in the hallway wearing one of my old shirts. It was the shirt I had accidentally left in the laundry basket weeks earlier. It was oversized on her, reaching well past her waist. She looked embarrassed, nervous, and strangely determined all at once. I immediately looked away, giving her space. She told me that her clothes had been caught in the washing machine and she had borrowed the shirt because she was cold. I smiled and told her it was fine. But she didn't leave. Instead, she sat at the opposite end of the couch. For several seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she admitted why she had been leaving her bedroom door open. She had been trying to find the courage to tell me something. She said that after her breakup, she had spent months feeling like she was unwanted. She had begun believing that being loved was something that happened to other people. Then she met me. And I never tried to fix her. I never asked her to become someone else. I never treated her sadness like an inconvenience. I simply stayed. She said that somewhere along the way, she had fallen in love with me. My chest tightened. I wanted to answer immediately, but words failed me. Then she explained that the open door had been her way of asking for courage. Every night, she would leave it open and tell herself that if I ever asked what it meant, she would finally tell me. But I never asked. She laughed through nervous tears. And suddenly I understood that she hadn't been playing some mysterious game. She had simply been scared. Scared of rejection. Scared of losing me. Scared that the person who had become her safest place might not feel the same. I finally told her the truth. I told her that I had fallen in love with her too, but I had been so afraid of ruining what we had that I had convinced myself silence was safer. Emma looked at me for a long moment. Then she smiled. Not the polite smile I had seen during our first week as roommates. Not the sad smile she had worn after her breakup. This was different. It was the smile of someone who had finally stopped running from what she wanted. She leaned against the back of the couch, closed her eyes, and quietly laughed at the absurdity of it all. 7 nights. 7 nights of an open door. 7 nights of 2 people standing on opposite sides of the same fear. And all along, neither of us had needed a grand gesture. We had only needed honesty. Months later, the apartment looked almost exactly the same. The same couch. The same kitchen table. The same tiny balcony. But everything felt different. Emma no longer needed to leave her bedroom door open as an invitation. She left it open because she wasn't afraid anymore. Sometimes I would walk past and see her reading beneath the lamp, and she'd look up and smile. Sometimes she'd fall asleep on the couch while we watched movies, and I'd quietly place a blanket over her. We never forgot the loneliness that had brought us together. Instead, we became proof that healing doesn't always happen through dramatic moments. Sometimes it happens through coffee left beside a laptop. Sometimes through a light left on in a hallway. Sometimes through someone sitting beside you at 2 in the morning without asking you to stop crying. And sometimes, love begins when two people finally realize that what they were searching for wasn't waiting somewhere far away. It was already sitting beside them. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that real love can grow from kindness, patience, and friendship, and subscribe for more stories that remind us never to underestimate the power of simply being there for someone. And before you go, leave a comment saying, "Sometimes love starts with simply staying." Because you never know who might read those words tonight and realize that they don't have to face everything alone. Emma once believed she had lost the ability to be loved. I once believed telling her how I felt would destroy our friendship. We were both wrong. Sometimes the door isn't left open because someone wants you to walk through it. Sometimes it's left open because they're quietly hoping you'll notice that they're finally ready to let you in.